I am Mark Newman, in Hebrew Mordechai Newman. I come from the Carpathian region, where it was Czechoslovakia before the war, where I was born, and became Hungary under German alliance in 1938, in October or something like that. And we were on Hungarian occupation, because it was occupation, till 1944, 39 and 44, and we lived under Hungarian Nazi persecution, not as in Germany, but still limited in every way of our life, and as Nazi laws against Jews. In 1941, the Hungarians dictated that Jews have to present their residency there by 1865, and many of them could not present it. We were fortunate, some family had in 1820, my great-grandfathers had a distillery and they paid taxes on that. My other great-grandfather, actually, first of him, he was executed by the farmers of his village, and there was a court process going on. So we found documents of that. So this was showing. This was in 1852, and my grandfather's distillery was 1820. So we had proof of it. Nevertheless, my grandfather had a brother, and he was of the same root of family, and being that he was a very big landowner in the village, so when the Germans, the Hungarian under the Nazi order, were taking these non-citizens to deport them over to the Ukrainian border, and the Nazis, the Germans were already having invaded Russia, and they took 20,000 Jews at that time, 1941 in August, and took them to the German-occupied Ukraine, and there they dispersed them, and the Germans took them along the river Dnieper. Before a week before, this is August, they took them away. The week before Rosh Hashanah, they had 5,000 one day to dig graves, their own graves, and line them up and machine gun them. And the next day they took them to another alongside the river, and they machine gunned the other 5,000. And there we lost my grandfather's cousins and families all together. Until 44, we believed that the Hungarian, they were a nice people, very they consider themselves very distinct. But the Germans overthrew the government in January 1944, and they started to register the Jews, and by 44 and March and April 44, they had everybody registered. They started to deport them. So they took us out in April, and they took us to the big city in a ghetto. There was a ghetto, and they put us in a brick factory, accommodated. People were even in the ovens of the brick factory accommodated. On the floor, dust, nothing else. Family by family, open barracks. There was no human dignity no more. Families, children together, open. 3 weeks later, they took us, and there, the Germans, although it was Hungary, the German SS came and they took the young man and they drove him into the swamps, just for punishment, for fun, for punishment, whatever. There's they put us on trains, boxcars, animals, and cramped buckets, no water, no food, and we went speed trains. Speed train, they didn't stop on stations, no nothing. So somehow they had it so arranged. And my father had familiarity with the route where the train went, and we were in the corner of the boxcar, and there was the little window barbed wire, and he wanted to see. He got up on my shoulder, my brother's shoulder, to see what. Because we had hoped maybe we go to Hungary to a farmer for farming or something like that. And then we came through the whole Slovakian territory. We came to the Polish border. When we came through the Polish border, and the people that were the maintenance people of the trains, and they were speaking Polish, they recognized the Polish language anyway. So we know that we are not going a good way. It's a bad way. Because something we knew before about Majdanek, Belzec, and Treblinka, this is what's familiar with us. So when we go to Poland, that means we will be wound up. And we had already family that we lost in Poland from Slovakia. So we continued. One day, second day, late, they opened the doors, and they asked to bring out the buckets that people relieved in them, and they brought in new buckets of water, not specially for drinking, but they brought it in the same buckets. As we are going fast, we slept another night in the train, and we came the next day, and we were in a slow speed. They pushed the train in backwards, and we came. They opened the gates, the doors, and we were on the railroad. This with high. My parents, my family, the old people, children, and they rushed us out. Schnell, hurry, get up. We couldn't turn around to see, to give a hand to my grandfather, 83 years old, to my grandmother with a baby on her arm. and we had to march. Came to a point where they started to separate the men and children, men from the women, and women and children separate. They had to go this way, and we had to continue to go. We came to a square that I already described it. It was about 4 times as big as this hall. And there we walked one line. And you couldn't say to your father, can I help? Grandfather, can I give you a hand? Not a goodbye, not a hello, take care, God will help, hope we make it, we live through. And there we stand in front of a man with a director's thing, and right, left. My brother saw I went to the left, and he showed him to go with the old man and with the children. So he stood up, he was 18. He says, I am 18 years and a mechanic. Invented me. We have decided about that in case they ask us what we are for. So he said, we iron mechanics, iron. So he turned the stick and sent them to me. So we survived together, we survived from then on. We were together all the time. And the 3 weeks that we were in Auschwitz, that was quarantine to see if anybody is not sick there, because if they sent us into Germany, to camps, they didn't want to send anybody that has some kind of an infection. So after the 3 weeks, they tattooed us there. They asked us again what we are good for, and we said, iron smiths. So they sent us to a working camp named Gleiwitz 1, and we were taken to a huge machine where they repaired the bombed out or broken cars from the fronts. That was our work. And I had to rivet the bumpers of the trains. The bumpers, we were a group of 10, we had to rivet, hard work, The piston that rivets in the bar that holds the rivet from the back. The food was horrible. At the beginning, the first days, we didn't even eat the food. Only the 4 ounces of black bread that they gave us in coffee-colored water, hot, warm water. I had a very, very good boots still there. 3 days, 4 days after, somebody comes over and says, I will give you shoes for these boots, and I'll give you 4 days of rations for you and for your brother. A prisoner. He had some of them had their way. So I gave up these boots, and they gave me some shoes, to have some shoes, because we couldn't be left without shoes. And they gave us the portions of bread. When we came to the machine factory with the machines, all these heavy machines, he says, what ironsmiths are we? My brother tells me. I says, don't worry, because he saw these wheels, turning tables, he saw these wheels from the. I says, the most that they will do is have you carry these irons from one place to another, but they will not give you a machine like that to do it. Luckily, he got into a section where he was checking the brakes of the train with another guy, 2 guys. So they were underneath the train. So they were escaping the passing of the Gestapo, the commandos. And he had a a foreman, a German, a civilian foreman that was not very bad. He was fine. I had a foreman that was Polish when the Polish, because this territory was Polish before the war. Polish when the Polish government, and Nazi when the Nazis came in. We called them the Volksdeutsche. Volksdeutsche, they were Nazis for the Nazis. They were Polish. Nevertheless, they were also anti-Semitic. He was a group of 10. We were also working under the trains because the rivets, they have to be mounted, and then from underneath with the heated rivets they were put in. And so we had to rivet, or one would have to rivet with a gun, with an air gun, and the other one had to hold strong. This is 3/4 rivets, 1/2-inch rivets. Wasn't easy. And the food was, they put in big calderons, all kinds of food, heated up, brought it in at noontime, and people stand in line. People were figuring out if they would have from the top the portion or from the bottom the portion. The bottom is more dense, no? So they were pushing. And meanwhile, while they were pushing, they were hitting with the heat, with the ladles. They were heating them over. My brother came up once, and he was injured from one of these. I told him, it is not worthwhile. Even if you catch something, it was not worthwhile, because the drop of blood that you lose, you don't recuperate it here. So let's go by with what we get, and not go and fight and lose our life because of a piece more or a piece less. This is the way we went through until from April to February. February we were on the front line already. German against the Russians, Russians against marching to the. During that time, we used to have sometimes planes flying over to bomb the Silesian industry there. Coal mines that they had, the Germans. And we were sitting there in the corner of the shops, supposedly to protect us from the shop inside. And we were praying they should drop the bombs here on the shop, and we go with them. But after the war, when we found out that there was intervention that they should bomb the trains, so the Germans have no access to the crematoriums. So, and the headquarters of the British and the American, that the planes cannot reach that area. Planes cannot overfly. I have quotes from interviews that they had with officers, commanders in my book, that they were denied this opportunity to other things that were denied. When we came out, the Russians were already very close, and they concentrate several camps. We were in a camp of 3,000, 3,500 people, and there were several other camps around the area in Silesia. And they concentrated in one big camp one day, in last days of February, around 20,000 people, prisoners. It was a Sunday morning, sunny, and they asked us from the camp where we were, we had 2 days to march, and we were marching on ice roads, and if somebody fell behind the line, they didn't have a chance to get out. They gave them the grace right there on the spot. And we had to line up and go march. We came to a granary in the night, and they opened up that granary. This is and we can go in overnight because we're going to stay overnight. Many people went in. We could go in. My brother and myself, we got in hardly by the door, and others stayed in the snow, and they had to lie down in the snow overnight in the snow. In the morning, we find many of them frozen, couldn't get up. My brother and myself, we got up and we came to, in the night, we marched all day, we came in the night to that big camp, and there they said we can accommodate ourselves in the barracks by 1 or by 2 and sleep over the night. No food again, only warm, colored coffee water. That's all. In the morning, they ordered us all out to the square in front of the gates. A big square, 20,000 people were standing there, so it must be a big square. No? In front of the gates, they put a string across, about 12 or 15 inches high, and they ordered the ones that were on this side to run and jump over the string. Those who jumped over the string went to the gate. Those who didn't had to go on the side, and there was a cave, a ground about a feet lower than the flat ground. My brother ran and he got through, but I ran first and I couldn't go through and I had to go there. My brother ran and he got through, but he turned around and came back and he said, I want to try again. I tried again and I didn't make it. It's only about this. He made it and he came back again. He says, look, we were until now here, we don't know what is the good to go with the Germans, because the Germans were driving to go drive them further west. And we were already close there by Russian occupation. So they didn't want to leave. And we knew they don't want to leave us alive for the Russians. So he said, whatever will happen, let it happen. Because there is no guarantee that I will survive the frost anymore, and we have to march again. Turned out we knew then, later, that they put them on flat cars and they would drive them all through Germany on the frost, and many of them didn't come through. But we came through in the evening, we were boots, we didn't see the guards anymore on the boots, only alternate booths that had guards in the towers, they had towers. And we were looking for somewhere to accommodate or something to find. We found a storeroom next to the kitchen. Because no food was found. In that storeroom we found bags of rice, raw rice. We filled our pockets with the raw rice. That was all. He and myself. So we were chewing rice all week long. All week until we got out. On Friday we walked away from the camp. During the week, part of the camp was. The water was cut off. This was Sunday. By Tuesday, the water was cut off, and the latrines were impossible. the grounds were full of dead people that they were shooting from the towers. The snow, it was not clean anymore. We had a hard time to find a little clean snow to swallow with the rice. One day they discovered a big storage, and they opened a board and they found some water, bottled water. And people were running to that place to get the bottled water. And that was about that high from the ground. But they couldn't jump up. What they took is frozen bodies, they made stairs of the frozen bodies and they went up. My brother and myself, we saw this and we said, we will try to find somewhere, some snow somewhere if we can, to step on bodies in order to get a bottle of water. We did. So we walked away. We were looking for a clean place where to, because the other part of the camp was already infested with typhoid. We found a barrack. We got into that barrack. That was Wednesday, and we accommodate ourselves. Mid-noon, they started to shoot and throw fire grenades into the barrack. People ran out and they shot the people that ran out. But fortunately, my brother and others, we were under the windows, under the beds, on the floor, under bunk beds, you know. And the fire, they stopped shooting, stopped firing, we walked out. Many were hurt, bleeding. We came out and we had to look. It's a new world, a new life now here, because we were safer. So in the other part of the camp we would not go. So we did check out some barracks and we found an officer's barrack. Very nice blankets, beds. We were a group of about 8 or 10 from my region, people from my region. And I looked the barrack, and the barrack was an officer's bank. It was right in front of the gates. And I looked through the gates and I see Germans marching, retreating from the front line. And in the air there was the air attacks and cannon. All was filled. The air was filled with fighting. And I saw on the road German retreat. I said to Sam, my brother Sam, I says, I don't like this place here. To stay overnight here and while they are marching, they may come in. So we went to look for another place. We found exactly the same barrack that was half burned. Found a little place for overnight. And in the morning we saw people started to walk out. The timber blocks were broken up and there was nobody in the towers. Watchtowers were abandoned. So we walked out in the snow and we came into a forest. There was a forest area around the block, around the camp. And there was full of dead people that walked out during the week. And while the towers were still on the watch, and they were shooting the people that walked out from the camp. So we walked away, we came to a road. On the road, we started to go in the snow, and there was other people too, groups, by 8, by 10, walked to the east. We came there. We saw on the road, we saw a Russian motorcycle turned over and the Russian was dead, the Russian soldier. So we walked this this path until we came to a little farmer's location. We went into the house. There was nobody there. And we found a goat. So the guys, they looked at it and they didn't know what to do. What can we do with this? I mean, it would be good to eat, but not raw. How can we eat raw? I said, find something. I came from a merchant farming family, and we had experience of how to skin a goat or skin another. So I cut it up, put it in a pot. There was an oven, a stove, put it in a pot and put it to boil. They didn't want to wait until it will be boiled. No salt. I said it was dark. No, couldn't find anything. In the morning, we got up and we started walking on the same road towards the east. We came to a village, and the Russians are sitting around, burning houses and roasting their bacon over black bread. And we were big groups by 10, by 12, by 20. They said, all right. He said, the road is open all the way to Moscow. Go on. They didn't offer anything, we need anything. But go in any of the houses, whatever you find you can take. This is my uniform in which I walked out, and I was here until 45 April when I came to the city in our region. So there was a photographer who took me a picture there. And from there on, I came into the Russians, and the Russians arrested us. We were 3. In the barrack where the officers were, there was one man left, and he could tell us what happened to the others. The Nazis, as I foresee, the Nazis came in, and they went into the barracks, and they found these people there accommodated. They took them all out, marched them out. They went in. There was the infirmary is there in that area. They went into the infirmary. They were all sick people. They shot them in their beds, and they walked away. And one of the boys that went in the evening was hidden under the beds and the floor, and he stayed there quiet, and he walked away. When we came in and opened the door, he was afraid to, but he heard my brother and myself talking in Yiddish, so he started to move around, and he crawled out from under the bed, and he told us what happened. They came in and he told us the shots that he heard when they were in the infirmary, because it was close to that barrack. And we walked home. We came to a city at midnight on a train on a frosty night in March. Everything was dark. There was a booth with a little light. We went in there, and in that booth there were Russian guards of the station. So we said, and they saw us. Hungry, not clothed, just in this type of clothing. Didn't offer anything. We would like to stay over somewhere where it's warm. Just sit down there. It was warm. The booth was heated. In the morning we'll find for you accommodation. Find for you a hotel. In the morning they got us in, up, and walked us to a big, like an armory or something, wooden doors. They knocked, a man comes out, the jailer comes out with a bunch of keys, opens it, and says, go in, he will find for you the accommodation. There we were 6 weeks under the Russian, eating was Russian lice, which was in the German camps, there was no lice. That is one thing they were watching. After 6 weeks, they were Russian NKVD, you know, the Russian secret, Russian officers, a colonel and a captain, and they heard that we have Zhits. Zhits is what kind of Zhits you have here. And they interviewed us. They saw that we are innocent Jewish kids. We were 3. The one that saved himself under the bed there, and we walked together, and he comes from the same region we came. And we walked to our hometown, home village. Home village, there was nobody came back. The area was already under Russian communist rule, and we had no future. We saw there is no future. And the sheriff of the village, you know, what you call the sheriff, comes over, he says, well, the fields are here, the houses are not there, but the fields are here. You can have a limited acreage of fields and no more. And you will have to work it yourself. So we got ourselves up and we have to go to the west. So we went to the west, we came to Budapest. Budapest we were smuggled over to the Austrian part where Americans were, and from there we were taken away by Palestinian Jewish soldiers to Italy and to a refugee camp. From the refugee camp we came to Palestine in October, and we stayed in Palestine till 45, October 45, stayed in Palestine till April 47, and we went to visit family in Latin America. That is as far as I mean, and the rest is history.